Being a good Overwatch player is a fine balancing act. Anyone can just pick up the game and have fun with it, and really that is the beauty of it. But when it comes down to performing in a competitive environment, boy, there's a lot you can do wrong. And a lot of these things are not as black and white as some people think. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. 3 mistakes that I am certain cost you a victory or two on some point in time. Now without further ado, let's get right into it. Number 1, talking too much or talking too little. When it comes to communication, the community seems to be rather split. There are people saying that a lot of the things should be obvious and are simply part of the skill ceiling in Overwatch. Others argue that communication makes the game infinitely more easy to play. Both sides are right and wrong to some extent, and it feels like it's a bit of an NA versus EU argument here. As an EU player, I value individual skill a whole lot, and I agree, a lot of the things that are being called out, in my opinion, should be obvious. If only every player had their monitor turned on and their headphones plugged in. But simultaneously, coordinating plays is so very important to function as a coherent unit. Finding the right balance is not the easiest task. Obviously, I'm not sitting here trying to tell you not to have fun. If joking around in voice chat makes the game more enjoyable for you, then go ahead. But when we're talking about pure performance, overusing voice comms can hurt in a significant way, and I'm looking at NA here in particular. I've been getting a lot of comments recently of people asking me why I left voice chat mid-game or why I'm in group rather than team chat. And those comments usually occurred on gameplay that I recorded while playing on NA servers. I gotta tell you, the absolute overuse of voice chat on NA makes it difficult for me to concentrate. The constant babbling makes it hard for me to hear footsteps or heck, even enemy abilities at times. And a lot of the callouts that are being made are quite frankly not necessary. Again, I have a functioning monitor and a decent pair of headphones. I'm not willing to give up reliance on my own skill and awareness in favor of voice comms. Fact of the matter states that I play better without someone constantly talking. And I feel some people should take a minute to think about that. I'm not missing out on callouts because, again, I see and hear these things myself. But if you give up paying attention to these things yourself because you expect your team to call it out anyway, you're effectively kneecapping your own skill. With that said, especially in the higher levels, coordination is so very important, so yes, it is a bad decision to leave voice chat because it makes it far more difficult to set up plays with your team. Bottom line is that talking too much can be just as bad as not talking at all, so maybe put some thought into what you want to communicate with your team next time. Number 2, not swapping heroes or swapping too often. If you thought that my previous point was opinionated, then boy, you're going to hate this one, but here's some food for thought. Is Overwatch about counterpicking or is it about hero mastery? The devs have voiced their opinion numerous times of trying to encourage players to swap heroes, so if even the developers say that you should, then how is there any room for argument? Well, we're talking about a massive player base with widely ranging levels of skill playing a video game that offers a plethora of different strats and comps. My opinion, as a rule of thumb I guess, is that the higher you climb on the ladder, the more important it becomes to be actually decent with the heroes you play. I could easily get by just with swapping heroes around even when I'm not good on them and still win all the way into Diamond. I guess ultimately it kinda comes down to both. It really depends on the situation. There are times where it's not about counterpicking what the enemies play, it's about playing your comp better. That can relate to both individual skill or team play. What's important is to assess the level of skill you're dealing with and being realistic about the level of skill that you can provide on each hero. If an enemy Genji is being a problem for your supports, what do? Do you swap to his counters until something works, or do you just adapt your positioning as an entire team, i.e. play your comp better? If the enemy Genji is actually good and your Winston is rather subpar, then he'll have no problem picking off your supports and getting away mostly unharmed. But if he's not good and it just comes down to him being uncontested, then both can work honestly. And also don't forget that every hero swap resets your ultimate charge. This is really all about being analytic. Figure out what's causing you trouble in the grand scheme of things and don't focus on a single hero that someone on your team claims is losing you the game. And number 3, wasting ultimates or holding on to them for too long. Now this is an interesting one to me because there are some very clear-cut examples of ultimate usage that seem to dissect this point from the very beginning. Example, popping Transcendence into an enemy Nanoblade. There's no debate that this is a counterplay that should happen. Where this starts to get a bit more grey is when the enemies aren't actually brain-dead monkeys. Obviously, if you see a Zenyatta on the enemy team, you want to take him out first to make sure he can't trans your Nanoblade. So the Genji dives your Zen, nobody peels for him, and suddenly he has to make a decision. Do you pop trance right now to survive and keep the teamfight going, or do you die because you're afraid of the nanoblade? Well, if you die, then Genji will have free reign anyway. Suddenly your team is dead and your trance is still available, and you're in a position where you're afraid to pop it for anything but another upcoming nanoblade that might never happen. Players really love to use ultimates as a sort of get out of jail free card. As this example nicely illustrated, there is no point in holding on to that trance, because if your Zen dies, then you'll have to deal with the nanoblade anyway. In this particular example, you obviously should have someone like a D.Va or a Lucio peel for the Zenyatta so it doesn't go as far as to having him pop trance. But if that still happens, then you either use the trance to dive the enemy Ana, or you try to take the Genji out of the fight with something like a Roadhog hook. All I really wanted to show you with this example is that using your ultimate is not always a textbook kind of thing that you can follow. Sometimes you gotta take chances when you think your ultimate can get a lot of value rather than waiting for a textbook play. And other times you will have to use your ultimate under pressure to save a teamfight. Don't let anyone tell you that a solo ult is always a bad idea. Using hammer down to solo ult in Mercy, for example, can single-handedly win an engagement, or using a Deadeye to stagger someone, hell, even a Dragon Strike to zone the payload. Most ultimates are not one-dimensional tools that can only be used in a certain way. Learning when you should or shouldn't pop it, however, is a matter of experience. Sometimes it's all about messing up an ult or two to learn that you should never do that again. And that, my friend, is something that will burn itself into your brain far better than any guide you can watch on the internet. But this is me done for the day with a quick video on 3 mistakes that make players lose their matches on a regular basis. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to drop me a like on your way out, subscribe if you want to see more, and hope to see you all next time. Okay, I thought we were winning this. Apparently not, okay! So a whole lot of them are still alive, for the record.